Welcome to Creative Brews. I'm Kristen, and this is your weekly dose of creativity, where photography, design, and life come together. So, grab your favorite drink, and let's talk about what's brewing. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Creative Brews. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome. Not exactly too sure what I'm going to call this one, but I thought about it the other day, and I don't know, it's something that I'm I don't know if I would say battling with, but sort of experiencing, and I'm trying not to beat myself up and stuff like that. So we're going to go ahead and get right on into it. I wasn't really sure if I was going to talk about something like this, but I think I'm not the only one who is either experiencing this or battling. I don't know if that's that might be an overbearing word or a dramatic word, but battling with. Anyways, I want to talk about the fact that there's something to be said about business owners feeling guilty that your workday is different every day, which you might hear that and think that's kind of an obvious thing to say, right? Because even in your everyday life, the day to day doesn't, it's not a groundhog day, you're not living the same day every day. And obviously, yes, even if you're not a business owner, your everyday life, every day is going to be different. But specifically, I want to talk about how every day is different and to not beat yourself up if a few of the days are easy days. Anyways, I just want to talk about the guilt that comes with the fact that your work days are different every day, and obviously will be different every day because, again, that's just how life is. So I really just want to talk about that, about how the day-to-day is, that it's okay for it to be different day to day, and you shouldn't beat yourself up if you have a few easy days, quote unquote, and that it's gonna be different day to day. Obviously, that's an obvious thing. So, and that just because some days are easier than others doesn't mean you're not doing enough, because that is what I mean by this is something that I quote unquote battle with. Again, I don't know if that's a great word to use. I feel like it's very dramatic, but it's like a tug of war. There you go. That describes what's happening inside of me. So on the days that I have an easier day, or on the days that I'm like, you know what, let's just take it easy, because with all the go and the hustle and oh well, you should be doing more and all of that, I definitely don't believe in the the norms per se of, oh, well, you should be hustling, you should be chasing, you should be doing more, right? Because I feel like you bog yourself down, you bog your mind down when you do give in to the hustle culture or the go, or the I'm chasing, because what I've noticed is that when I don't chase things, because I definitely used to, obviously, because I felt like, oh, well, I can't just not do anything. I'm definitely someone who's been wired to be doing something all the time. And it's only because that's just what I learned, subconsciously. That's what I absorbed. That's what I've learned. And if you want to be successful, you've got to be doing all the things all the time. And as I've really stepped into this sort of basically different chapter of my life and living more of a mindfulness, slow living, grounded, intentional living, whatever you want to call it, whatever the terms are today, the buzzwords. Anyways, I'm really stepping into that more than I ever have before, because honestly, before my old self was like half in, half out. Oh, I've got this. Oh, I can control this. Oh, wait, no, I can't. Let's take a step back. So it was very much a yo-yo effect. And what I've learned is that, number one, that doesn't work for me. And number two, I've stopped doing the yo-yo. You're in and you're out and, you're here, you're there. Because you can't be in all places at all time and be successful. I know some people might hear that and think, yes, you can. And, actually, you should be. No, what I'm saying is now, instead of chasing after things, I intentionally just allow things to happen the way that they are going to happen. Because at the end of the day, you cannot control what happens. So I guess as like from a business standpoint, if you think, oh, well, I'm going to spend $1,000 plus on marketing, right? Because I can't tell you how many business owners I've spoke to, and that's like their main focus is marketing, is I've got to get myself out there and stuff like that. And they're like painfully like spending thousands of dollars on marketing. And I get it. Like, you're trying to get your name out there. You're trying to get your business out there, whatever it is. But at the same time, no amount of money is going to equal visibility. Does that make sense? So, like I said, you can't be in all places at all times. You can't even if you were to put your business out in front of 1,000 plus people all over the world, what I've learned is that not everybody is going to, what's the word? Not everybody is going to understand your business. So, like, example, for me, everybody sees the fact that I'm an author and stuff like that, and then they also see KB Creative NC. They just think that it's just design services. And I can't tell you how many times I've been asked, oh, so marketing. Yes. Just like that. Yes, marketing. However, my mission is not to help every business owner with their marketing, okay? I have a bigger mission here. And that is to my book, my podcast, and anything else that I come out with are all different avenues to basically say or share the same message but in a different way, if that makes any sense. So, while yes, I will help business owners with their marketing, that is not the only thing that my business is. So I've kind of noticed that that is a very big challenge for me. So while I am, out networking or whatever the case is, it's not been very hard to talk about my business. What's been very hard is to get people, and a bunch of different people, all walks of life, to understand what you're really in the business of, what your mission is beneath it all. So beneath it all, for me, I've come to realize that my mission is to spread mindset things, mindfulness living, and spread basically my message. Because when you sit down and actually think about it all comes back to mental health. And so, while yes, my business is design support, or what I now say creative support or creative solutions, my business can help with any kind of design work. Anything like that. So I've come to realize that the reason why it's so hard to get people to understand all of that is because it's just like what I've been talking about on this podcast. People cannot understand what they don't understand, right? So if someone didn't learn something, then they didn't learn it, right? So that is the big reason why not everyone that you speak to is going to resonate with your business, with whatever it is you're building, your book, whatever the case is. And I already knew that because, I don't know, I'm someone who, I'm just like, there's always, I don't really know how to put it into words at the moment, but I definitely knew that my business is not just, well, here's your logo, here's your brand identity, bye. That's how it began, an a la carte situation, but it quickly evolved into something that I never saw coming, which is amazing. Because now, fast forward to now, I not only have a creative agency, but I have more so what I'm working toward is an ecosystem. So I'm very much a multifaceted person in that sense. And that is the reason why when I'm networking, which I don't really like, but you got to sometimes do things that you don't like. You got to do different things. You got to be uncomfortable in order to grow. I definitely strongly believe that and will for probably the rest of my life. So, yes, I've come to realize all of that. And that is the reason why I say every time I go to network or something like that, because I still to this day have not done marketing. I'm not saying I will never do marketing. I'm just saying it just hasn't felt right. While I can serve the world with my business and with everything that I'm doing, yes, but that is not the whole sole purpose, point, passion, all of that jazz. So, yes, I didn't know exactly what I was going to be talking about. I mean, I figured I'd be talking about this stuff, but just wasn't sure, in depth, how deep we were going to go. But, Yes, so I haven't done any marketing, not saying I never will. I just don't believe that. I've heard of some people spending like $5,000, $10,000 into marketing, and that just like makes my stomach turn upside down when I hear that. I think someone told me that and I was like, "Oh my god, like do they not know?" Like, I'm not saying don't do marketing. What I'm saying is that there's a smarter way to market. Do I know everything? No, I don't. I've learned a lot of things because obviously I did not go to college for business administration. I didn't take I've taken maybe one or two little classes that were free this past year, I think it was. But other than that, I don't have a degree in business. Everything I'm doing, I've learned through either trial and error. I've learned, through researching. I've learned through the little classes that I have taken, stuff like that. But also, too, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what business you have, right? What does matter is the reason why you're in business. The reason why you are in the business that you're in. And two, I lost my train of thought. What matters is your whole sole purpose of why you're in the business that you're in. The purpose, the passion, right? Maybe I'll remember what I was trying to remember. Wow. Okay. If you're trying to be in the business of appealing to everyone and stuff like that, that's going to be a hard road. Because the moment you feel like you have to talk to everybody in the room or you have to market to the whole world, your message becomes diluted. And a lot of people are just going to see your ad or whatever it is and think, oh, okay, well, that's great. Unless someone is actively looking for someone to solve their problem, which, hey, that could happen, right? So it's kind of like a 50-50% chance of a client coming from an ad that you just spent like $10,000. So I'm not saying, again, I know there's a lot of marketers out there and stuff like that, marketing agencies out there, but yeah, again, I'm not saying don't market. I'm just saying, I think that's what I was going to say. So the purpose and the passion of your business, but it really stems back to, does whatever you're doing, whether you want to market or not, does that make sense for your business? I feel like a lot of business owners have stopped asking themselves, does this make sense? And it's probably because sometimes it might be because competition. Sometimes it might be because they're comparing their business to someone else's business. But yeah, I think that's basically everything I was wanting to say about all of that. But yeah, I mean, just continue as you check in within yourself, like, okay, how am I today? How am I doing? You should do that with your business. And see, this is one of the reasons why I started my business, is because I love the fact that I can talk to other business owners and give them a different point of view. I've actually helped, not that long ago, another business owner with ideas, Actually, two business owners. One who is about to launch their business, and one who has already launched their business and has been in business for a while. I kind of sat with both of them separately, obviously, and helped them think of some different point of views and stuff like that. And that, more than anything, like, that's one of the things that, one of many that I love, is helping other people in a different way. Like, I know sometimes when people say, oh, I love helping other people, that comes to the cost of themselves, right? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm helping people in a different way without the cost of me. You know what I mean? So I hope all that makes sense. So, yeah, so obviously no 2 days are gonna look the same, right? That's the obvious thing. So, some days are jam-packed. Maybe maybe you kind of like double booked yourself by accident, whatever the case is, whether that be client meetings, designing, strategy, content creation, emails, networking, admin work, the list could go on. Other days, you should at least some other days have some brainstorming, researching, learning, taking photos. Maybe you're trying to get some content out, creating something just because inspiration hit, which is why, I still upload to my Instagram. Because, obviously, at the end of the day, I love documenting things, and obviously, inspiration hits me sporadically, and I'm like, oh my God, I gotta write this down, or oh my God, I gotta remember this and sit down and create a video or something like that. Or just simply, and I think this is a major one, which is why I'm in the business that I'm in. And that's the reason why it's so hard for me to, sit and really tell someone the energy of my business. I think that's a good way to put it. The energy of my business is very multifaceted. Like, people hear, creative solutions and they think marketing. I can't tell you how many times. And I think I want to start saying, yeah, like marketing, but we do much more than just marketing, because at the end of the day, I'm not a marketing agency. Okay. So I am a design creative agency. Like, so, anyways, stepping away to recharge is a major one, because, like I said, as business owners, we think, oh, well, if I'm not doing anything, then I'm losing money. Or if I'm not doing anything, I'm being lazy. All those things. And I get it. That's the reason why I have the tug of war. That's the reason why I'm talking about these things. And that's the reason why I just went over some days versus other days. Some days are jam-packed with stuff. Other days are not going to be. And honestly, I think if you are a business owner, and if you have 50% jam-packed days and 50% not jam-packed days, maybe, you're catching up on some things that you put off on those other days, I think you're doing really good. I think that's probably a proper way to be in business and to be able to do what you do without burning yourself out. I hope that all makes sense. A little reminder here is that a business owner's job isn't just checking things off a list. A lot of times, your job is creating space for creativity, which is, I think, an important thing to remember and everything. So instead of beating yourself up, just remember that little tidbit. And to touch a little bit more on if it doesn't feel hard, am I really working? This is basically the exact reason why I am talking about today's episode anyway, because there's quite a bit of moments where I catch myself thinking that same thing. Again, that tug of war, like I mentioned earlier. And I catch myself thinking, wait, am I actually working? Just because this is fun, or just because you can kind of walk away from whatever it is that you're working on and come back, which sometimes is my days. um, and I think it's such an interesting mindset. We have been so conditioned to this thinking if it feels if it doesn't feel hard, am I really working? And it's definitely one of my hard wiring, if that makes any sense. I'm trying to rewire that, and it's taking a bit more time and a bit more patience with all of that, just because I'm so hardwired to and so conditioned, especially because where I was working before I started my business, it was production based. So you had to, crank things out and always be working on something. So yeah, it's been it's been a hard road with that one, but I've made some progress, I feel like. So, but yes, somewhere along the way we started believing that work has to feel or be exhausting in order to count, or in order for you to feel like you've accomplished something, but that is not the case. It's not true, and you shouldn't beat yourself up about that. So, I want to talk about something that I think is interesting, and it's the difference between ease and laziness, because it kind of ties right on into exactly what I was just talking about, which is if something feels quote unquote easy, then sometimes you feel lazy. And sometimes you're like, well, am I just being not, well, you're not asking yourself, well, am I just being lazy? But the thing is an easy day doesn't mean you aren't ambitious, you're not committed, or you're not growing. It doesn't mean any of those things. And a lot of times, an easy day just means that you've planned well. The systems that you built are working. You have experience, and you are finally working in alignment, which is a huge one. There is a big difference between avoiding work and allowing yourself to breathe while you work, which is something I am still learning is to breathe in between, or breathe, through what you're working on, and to have those moments where you step away and come back. And I think a lot of the guilt, I would say, comes from having a flexible schedule, which is something I'm definitely not accustomed to yet. I'm not really used to that because I've spent the last almost 10 years in, having a schedule, and you go to lunch at this time and you take your break at this time, which I never really took my breaks. And before that, you're in college or you're working at a different place of work. So anyways, you get what I'm saying. I've had basically, I would say, 20 years worth of a schedule. So it's pretty hard to break that wiring to go from, well, I've got to be here at this time and do this at that time versus having your own schedule and it being flexible and stuff like that, which I absolutely love. Like when I initially got this idea for this episode, it was on a day, it was about 2 p.m., and I was out grabbing groceries, or, sometimes I go out and run errands. And, I break up my work day in that way to get some things done that, might need to be done around the house, whatever it is. Every day is different. Or sometimes we'll go to the pool, or grab lunch, and then I come back and finish up what I was working on for that day. But just because you're able to do that doesn't mean you should be beating yourself up about it. Because at the end of the day, if anyone else was in your shoes, they would be doing the same thing. And I think it's so funny for not only the guilt, but it's almost like you have to justify your schedule or the fact that your schedule is flexible or, so I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs do that. They feel like they have to prove they are working because their work doesn't always look like someone else's. Or, someone's like, well, you don't really post your work on social media. So, you know what I mean? Like, you don't need to prove anything to anyone. I think there's also something to say about creating a business that supports your life, which is the most important thing. So I think the goal was never to build a business that consumes your entire life. Obviously, you want to be very passionate about it. You want to be, yeah, very passionate about it, and you do want to work on it frequently, but your work should not become your life. I've seen that happen in the past, and I've seen literally people who put their work before their family. And that just kind of boggles my mind because I get it, like you're trying to make sure things are they're staying going or they're staying on process and being on time, deliverables, stuff like that, but your business should never become your entire life. And it definitely shouldn't come before your family. In return, the goal is to build something that allows you to live and breathe and walk away, come back, be flexible, be fluid, and stuff like that. And I think that's one of the reasons why people, like your loved ones, your friends, your family, whoever, they, maybe you've said, hey, I've started this new business and you're excited about it. And they can't really, not only can they not really understand your vision or your goal or your mission, but the fact that your schedule is flexible and fluid, it kind of makes them feel like, well, are you really working? And if you are, what are you working on? Like, I don't ever see you working. You know what I mean? So I think that's, pretty hard because especially your loved ones, your friends, family, whoever that's close to you are sort of used to you talking about, well, today at work, blah, 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 So, and whenever you become the business owner, you don't really have any complaints. That's not to say that you don't have any hardships, because there are plenty, but you don't feel the need to sit there and say, well, today at work, blah, 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 blah. So I think, I think that's funny. And I believe I'm going to go ahead and close the episode. I've been talking for quite a while now. So I'm going to leave with this. Your business is allowed to have seasons. Your days are allowed to have different rhythms. Some are more stressful than others. And your productivity is not measured by how exhausted you are at the end of the day. Some days you build, some days you create, a lot of days you learn, and you should build in your rest days in between. And all of those days are part of building something meaningful, your business. So, I really hope that everybody gained something from today's episode. This was a big one for me just because, again, I beat myself up not daily, but frequently, and I'm trying to do better. It's all a part of me continuously working on myself and improving myself. That's a daily thing. um, if someone says it's not a daily thing, they're lying and they're probably not continuously improving themselves, quote unquote, correctly. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I was very passionate about this one. And the other day I thought about it and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and record it now on my phone. And then I was like, no, because I'm here trying to get groceries. And also, I think there's something else I would like to talk about, which is the feeling like as a business owner, you always feel that you can do more. You can do more. But that's something that I'm really, really, really trying to hone in on, harness, and try to take that energy and divvy it up and put it into other avenues. So, yeah, I hope everybody enjoyed today's episode. If you know a business owner that could benefit from hearing these things, please send it their way. I think it'll really help a fellow business owner. So, with all that being said, if you're interested, I do have a book that I have written. It's called The Daily Divine, a book of soulful truths and everyday wisdom. It's a physical book, an ebook, and I have also narrated it. So, yes, please be sure to follow along so that way you do not miss an episode, and I will see you all in the next episode. Bye!